In this video, I'm going to be teaching you a concept that I'd like to call Otternomics. My name is Kayla and I'm an intern here at the Aquarium of the Pacific with the Southern Sea Otter Surrogacy Program. A little overview of this program is that the Monterey Bay Aquarium started it in 2001, where it aimed to rescue orphaned southern sea otters and pair them with a non-releasable female surrogate otter. These surrogates teach the pup essential survival skills like diving, foraging, and grooming so they can thrive when reintroduced to their natural habitats. This program has become a powerful conservation tool, with nearly 75% of released otters surviving and contributing to wild populations along the California coast today. But the impact goes far beyond just helping one species, which is why I want to introduce to you the concept of Otternomics. So, what is Otternomics? Otternomics is the idea that saving just one sea otter pup isn't only about protecting a single species, it's a strategic investment in the health of our coastal ecosystems and the long-term strength of our blue economy. Through the Southern Sea Otter Surrogacy Program, each rescued pup helps protect kelp forests that store carbon, shelter marine life, and attract tourists, all of which support local jobs and businesses. In this video, we'll explore the remarkable journey of sea otters from near extinction to ecosystem heroes and how their recovery supports thriving kelp forests, boosts local economies, and inspires collaboration among communities, scientists, and policymakers. We'll dive into the science behind their ecological role, the economics of conservation, and why protecting sea otters is a smart investment in the future of our coast and Earth. Let's dive in. Sea otters play a significant role in supporting healthy oceans and local economies, but conserving this species requires months of specialized care, training, and support, which leads to the fact that caring for these otters is not cheap. It costs about $90,000 to just raise a single pup here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. This includes costs of staff that take care of these otters, their food, and supplies. Even though it's expensive, saving just one pup can make all the difference for our coastal ecosystems. But how, you might ask? They're extremely important for the well-being of our giant kelp forests and marine estuaries as they're keystone species and ecosystem engineers. This means that they have a disproportionately large impact on their ecosystem relative to their numbers, and without them, these ecosystems would collapse. Their presence or absence can dramatically shape the structure and health of entire kelp forest communities. Without otters to keep sea urchins in check, kelp forests suffer. Sea urchins overgraze the kelp, turning once thriving underwater habitats into what scientists call urchin barrens. Barren, rocky seascapes dominated by sea urchins where very little marine life can survive. And we've seen this happen before. Starting in the mid-1700s, sea otters were hunted extensively for their dense, luxurious fur, which was highly valued in the global fur trade. Russian traders were the first to exploit the species, pushing down from Alaska into California. By the late 18th and early 19th century, British and American traders had joined in, and the hunt intensified. Once numbering between 150,000 to 300,000 along the California coast, southern sea otters were nearly wiped out. By the early 1900s, they were believed to be extinct in California. But in 1938, a small surviving group of about 30 to 50 otters was discovered off the coast of Big Sur, the only known survivors of the extensive hunting. Thanks to the North Pacific Fur Seal Treaty of 1911, which offered the first legal protection for sea otters, as well as marine protected areas, that remnant population became the foundation for their gradual recovery. When otters began to return, so did the balance. They started reducing sea urchin numbers, allowing kelp forests to recover and thrive once again. These forests then became rich, vibrant ecosystems, sheltering countless species of marine life and helping sustain a healthy ocean. And thanks to years of collaborative effort, we're seeing progress. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, the 2017 three-year average southern sea otter population was 3,186, which is above the recovery threshold of 3,090 for the second year in a row. Population numbers must stay above 3,090 for 3 consecutive years before sea otters can be considered for delisting. That's huge because it means we're moving one step closer to the goal of delisting sea otters from the endangered species list. But population size is just one part of the equation. For sea otters to be fully delisted, other key factors must be met too, like stable and secure habitats, reliable food sources, and a reduction in ongoing threats like oil spills, shark predation, disease, human disturbance, and genetic bottlenecks. That's why efforts are now focused not just on supporting existing populations in places like Elkhorn Slough and Monterey Bay, but also on reintroducing sea otters into regions where they historically lived, such as Northern California, parts of Oregon, and Baja California, Mexico. Expanding their range is essential to reduce their vulnerability and increase the long-term resilience of this species. So while we've come a long way, there's still much to do, and every rescued pup plays a role in that future. That's why this work and your support continues to matter. Each pup helps protect entire kelp forests, which in return store carbon, which fights climate change, shelter fish, which boosts marine biodiversity and food supply, and keeps coastal tourism alive. All of these benefits are part of something called the blue economy. The blue economy means using ocean resources like healthy kelp forests, fisheries, and ecotourism to support jobs and economic growth, while also protecting ocean health for the future. It includes things like fishing, tourism, renewable energy, and even conservation efforts like the Southern Sea Otter Surrogacy Program. Reintroducing southern sea otters has an overall strong positive economic impact as we attract more ecotourists eager to see them in their natural habitat. That spending supports local jobs in tour guiding, hospitality, and restaurants, helping coastal communities stay connected to a thriving ocean. But the value of healthy kelp forests and sea otters goes even deeper. Economists call these benefits ecosystem services. That means all the ways healthy nature supports people, communities, and economies, often in ways we don't directly pay for, such as carbon storage, protecting coastlines, or supporting fisheries. But here's the problem. When we measure economic performance with tools like GDP, we don't include these services or the hidden costs our actions impose on ecosystems. These hidden costs are called externalities. This is what it would cost society if kelp forests were to disappear. Losing them could cost us hundreds of millions of dollars in lost carbon storage, fisheries, and tourism. That's why conservationists and economists work to put a value on nature. This is called valuing natural capital. And yes, it might sound strange, but it's often the things that feel the most priceless or sacred, like thriving kelp forests and sea otters, that most urgently need a price tag. Because what the market doesn't pick up, what economists call non-market value, is still real and deeply important. Even when people don't buy anything, they still value knowing that otters and kelp forests are healthy. Researchers measure this through something called willingness to pay, or WTP. Basically, how much people say they'd pay just to keep these ecosystems safe. For example, a study done by researchers at Monterey Bay Aquarium and Middlebury Institute of International Study Center showed surveys at Elkhorn Slough found visitors would be willing to pay about $28 each to help protect otters. This adds up to over $1.3 million every year, and that's just from that one area. That shows that people value otters not just because they're cute, but because they help keep our entire coastal economy and ecosystem healthy. Being able to conserve this species is not simple though. Conservation efforts often require trade-offs. Reintroducing sea otters to new areas brings both benefits and costs. According to the 2022 Sea Otter Reintroduction Feasibility Study, these impacts depend heavily on regional context. While sea otters boost ecotourism and restore ecosystems, they also compete with commercial shell fisheries, especially for crab, clam, and urchins, which our sea otters love to eat. Short-term losses for some fisheries may occur before the ecosystem rebalances. Fishers, especially in rural and economically vulnerable areas, have expressed concern over losing access to valuable shellfish harvests. This is why economists and conservationists stress the need to value natural capital, putting a real economic value on things like carbon capture or coastal protection that ecosystems quietly provide every day. And here's the reality. If kelp forests disappear, the externalities or hidden societal costs could total hundreds of millions of dollars in lost services, from fisheries collapse to increased shoreline erosion. Balancing these trade-offs means listening to everyone affected. According to the feasibility study, tourism and conservation groups are highly supportive of the reintroduction, while commercial fishers express concerns about livelihood. Tribal communities highlight the spiritual and cultural value of sea otters and emphasize the importance of co-management and respect for sovereignty. Overall, collaboration is key. Many stakeholders support reintroduction if it's done with proper education, planning, and shared decision-making. So what can we learn from Otternomics? When we save one sea otter pup, we're doing more than rescuing an animal. We're investing in a resilient coast. And that's the heart of Otternomics, a model where conservation supports both the planet and the people. We're protecting kelp forests that fight climate change, marine ecosystems that feed communities, and a coastal economy that thrives through ecotourism and fisheries resilience. Be part of the story. Support our surrogacy program and help protect our coast.